Danny Carter was tired. He had worked 12 hours at the auto shop, fixing engines and changing oil until his hands were black and his back hurt. He lived alone in a small apartment on the edge of Denver, Colorado. It was not much, just 2 rooms and a kitchen, but it was his. He paid his rent on time and bothered nobody. That night, Danny fell asleep on his old couch with the television still playing. He had not even taken off his work boots. The clock on the wall showed 11:45 when his eyes closed. He did not know that his simple life was about to change forever. At exactly midnight, a strange light filled his bedroom. It was blue and bright, like nothing Danny had ever seen before. The light came from the center of the room, floating in the air like a tear in the fabric of reality itself. Danny woke up immediately. His heart beat fast as he grabbed the baseball bat he kept near the couch. He walked slowly toward the bedroom door. The blue light was so bright that it hurt his eyes. Then he heard voices. They were not speaking English, but he could somehow understand them. The words appeared in his mind like thoughts that were not his own. This is wrong. This is not the safe house. I know. The portal failed. Where are we? Danny pushed open the bedroom door and saw them. 2 figures stood in the middle of his room, surrounded by the fading blue light. They were not human. That much was clear right away. They looked like people, but their skin was a soft purple color, like lavender flowers. Their eyes were large and golden, with no white parts at all. Thin silver lines ran along their temples and down their necks, almost like circuits under their skin. They were identical. A boy and a girl, or at least that was what Danny guessed. They wore torn clothing that looked like it had once been fine and expensive. Both of them had cuts and bruises on their faces and arms. They looked young, maybe 18 or 19 years old by human standards. And they looked scared. Danny raised his bat. Who are you? What are you doing in my house? The 2 aliens saw him and immediately fell to their knees. They put their hands up in a gesture that clearly meant surrender. The female spoke first, and again Danny understood her words, even though her lips moved in patterns that did not match any language he knew. Please do not hurt us. We mean no harm. We are lost. We are refugees, the male added. His voice shook with fear. Our world is dying. We tried to escape, but our portal brought us here by mistake. We did not mean to enter your dwelling. Danny kept the bat raised. His mind was racing. Aliens, real aliens. In his bedroom. Part of him wanted to run. Part of him wanted to call the police. But another part of him, a part that his mother had raised him to listen to, noticed something else. These 2 were hurt. They were scared. They were not attacking him. They were begging for mercy. What are your names? Danny asked. He did not lower the bat yet, but his voice became a little softer. I am Kira, the female said. This is my brother, Torin. We are twins from a world called Vareth. Our planet is being destroyed by a war we did not start. Our parents sent us away to save our lives, but the escape portal was damaged. We were supposed to arrive at a safe house on a neutral station. Instead, we are here. She looked around the small, messy bedroom with confusion. Where is here? Earth, Danny said. You're on Earth, a planet in the Milky Way galaxy. This is my apartment in Denver, Colorado. Kira and Torin looked at each other. Something passed between them, a silent communication that twins sometimes share. Then Torin spoke again. Earth, we know of this world. It is listed in the Concord records as a quarantine planet. Forbidden's territory. He swallowed hard. We are not supposed to be here. No one from the Concord is allowed to come here. Why? Danny asked. What's wrong with Earth? The twins did not answer. Instead, Kira suddenly grabbed her side and winced in pain. Danny saw dark blue blood seeping through her torn clothing. She was hurt worse than he had first thought. Something changed inside Danny at that moment. He had never been a hero. He had never done anything special in his life. He was just a mechanic who fixed cars and watched football on Sundays. But his mother had taught him one thing above all else. She had said it 1,000 times when he was growing up. Danny, when someone needs help, you help them. That's what good people do. He lowered the bat. You're bleeding, he said. Both of you look like you haven't eaten in days. Come on. I've got a first aid kit and some leftover pizza. The twins stared at him. They did not move. Why? Kira asked. Her golden eyes were wide with confusion. Why would you help us? You do not know us. We are strangers. We are not even from your world. On Varath, no one helps strangers without expecting something in return. Danny shrugged. That's not how we do things here. At least, that's not how I do things. Now come on before you bleed all over my floor. He led them to his small kitchen. He gave them water first, then found the leftover pizza from yesterday's dinner. The twins ate like they had not seen food in weeks. Danny cleaned Kira's wound as best he could. It was deep, but it did not seem to be life-threatening. He used bandages and antiseptic from his first aid kit. While he worked, Torin watched him with an expression Danny could not read. Finally, the alien boy spoke. You are very strange, Danny Carter. I get that a lot, Danny replied. On our world, kindness to strangers is considered foolish. Resources are limited. Trust is dangerous. We learned from childhood to protect ourselves first and always. Our parents were the only ones who ever showed us mercy, and now they are gone. Torin's voice cracked slightly. We thought we were alone in the universe. Danny finished wrapping Kira's wound and sat back. He looked at the two alien twins sitting in his kitchen, eating cold pizza and drinking tap water. It was the strangest sight he had ever seen. But somehow, it did not feel wrong. It felt like something important was happening, something bigger than himself. Well, Danny said, you're not alone anymore. I don't know what's going on or why you're here, but you can stay tonight. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. Kira looked at him with those strange golden eyes. A single tear rolled down her lavender cheek. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you, Danny Carter of Earth. Danny nodded. He did not know it yet, but with that simple act of kindness, he had just changed the course of galactic history. The midnight visitors had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. 3 weeks passed since the night the twins fell into Danny's bedroom. He had called in sick to work twice, made up stories about a family emergency, and spent most of his savings on extra food and supplies. Keeping two aliens hidden in a small apartment was not easy, but Danny managed. Kira and Torin learned fast. They watched television for hours, absorbing information about human culture, history, and language. Within a week, they could speak English without using their mental translation ability. They were fascinated by everything. Music made them cry. Comedy shows made them laugh until they could not breathe. The news made them quiet and thoughtful. Danny taught them how to use a microwave, how to take a shower, and how to order food online without showing their faces. In return, they taught him about the galaxy. What Danny learned changed everything he thought he knew about the universe. There are thousands of intelligent species in this galaxy, Kira explained one evening. They were sitting on Danny's couch, eating Chinese takeout. Most of them are part of the Galactic Concord, a government that has ruled for over 50,000 years. The Concord keeps peace between worlds, controls trade, and decides which species are allowed to travel between stars. And Earth isn't part of this Concord? Danny asked. Torin shook his head. Earth is quarantined. No Concord species is allowed to visit your world. No communication. No contact of any kind. It has been this way for over 2,000 of your years. Danny put down his food. Why? What did we do? The twins looked at each other. That silent communication again. Finally, Kira spoke. It is not what you did, Danny. It is what you are. The Concord is afraid of humans. Danny laughed. He could not help it. Afraid? Of us? We can barely get along with each other. We're still arguing about climate change and fighting wars over land. We haven't even been to Mars yet. That is exactly why they fear you, Torrin said. His voice was serious. Let me explain. Most species in the galaxy are specialized. They evolved to be very good at one thing. The Varath, our people, are engineers. We build things. We design technology. But we have no art. We have no music. We cannot imagine things that do not already exist. We can only improve what is already there. Kira continued. The Drakari are warriors. They are strong and fast and fearless in battle. But they cannot create new weapons. They cannot change their tactics. They fight the same way they have fought for 1,000,000 years. The Luminari are philosophers and scientists. They understand the deepest secrets of physics and mathematics. But they have no passion. They feel no strong emotions. They cannot love or hate or feel joy. Every species has a gift, Torrin said, and a limit. Every species except one. Danny felt a chill run down his spine. Humans, yes. Kira nodded. Long ago, Concord scientists studied Earth from far away. They watched your species grow. They expected you to be like all the others, gifted in one area and weak in all the rest. But you were not. You were something they had never seen before. You can fight like the Drakari, Torrin said. Your wars are terrible and bloody. You kill each other with efficiency that would impress any warrior species. You can build like the Varath, Kira added. In just a few thousand years, you went from caves to cities to flying machines to splitting the atom. You can think like the Luminari. Your scientists have discovered truths about the universe that took other species millions of years to understand. And you can create, Kira said, her voice filled with something like wonder. You have art and music and stories. You imagine things that do not exist and then make them real. You feel every emotion, love and hate and joy and sadness, sometimes all at once. You are not specialized. You are everything. Danny sat in silence for a long moment. He did not know what to say. Torrin leaned forward. The Concord did calculations. They built models. They tried to predict what would happen if humans ever developed faster than light travel. The results terrified them. What did they predict? Danny asked. That humans would either unite the galaxy or conquer it within 500 years. No other species has ever grown so fast. No other species adapts the way you do. You learn from everyone. You take the best ideas from every culture you encounter and make them your own. You improve things. You break rules. You refuse to accept limits. Kira looked at Danny with her golden eyes. The Concord decided that humans were too dangerous to allow into space. They placed Earth under permanent quarantine. Any contact with your world is punishable by death. They are hoping that you will destroy yourselves before you discover how to travel between stars. Danny stood up and walked to his window. He looked out at the city lights, at the ordinary world he'd always known. Cars drove by. People walked their dogs. Somewhere, a siren wailed. It all looked so normal, so small. So the whole galaxy thinks we're monsters, he said quietly. No, Kira said. She walked over to stand beside him. The Concord fears you because you are capable of being monsters. But they also know you are capable of being something else. Something greater. That is what truly frightens them. What do you mean? You showed us kindness, Danny. You did not have to help us. We were strangers. We were aliens. We appeared in your home uninvited in the middle of the night. Any other species would have attacked first and asked questions later. But you gave us food and water. You bandaged my wounds. You let us stay. Torin joined them at the window. On Vareth, such behavior would be considered insanity. Resources are precious. Kindness is weakness. But here, you call it being a good person. This is what the Concord does not understand. Humans can be violent and selfish, yes. But you can also be gentle and generous. You can choose. That is your true power. Danny thought about everything they had told him. It was too much to process all at once. He was just a mechanic. He fixed cars for a living. He was nobody special, but maybe that was not true anymore. What happens now? He asked. You can't go back to Vareth. And I'm guessing you can't just find another place to live in the galaxy. If the Concord finds out you came to Earth, we will be executed, Kira said simply. And anyone who knows about us will be killed as well. The Concord takes the quarantine very seriously. Danny turned to face them. Then we make sure they don't find you. You stay here. Both of you. For as long as you need. You would risk your life for us? Torin asked. You barely know us. Danny smiled, though he did not feel like smiling. I guess I'm just a typical crazy human. Besides, you're kind of my responsibility now. My mom always said that once you start helping someone, you don't stop until the job is done. Kira reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was cool and smooth. You are a good man, Danny Carter. The Concord was wrong about your species. I believe that now. Maybe, Danny said. Or maybe we're exactly as dangerous as they think. The difference is, we get to choose which kind of dangerous we want to be. Outside the window, the night sky stretched on forever, filled with stars that suddenly meant something new. Somewhere out there, a galaxy waited. And on this small blue planet, in a tiny apartment in Denver, the first step toward a new future had already been taken. None of them knew what was coming next. But Danny had a feeling that his quiet life as a mechanic was over for good. The alarm came on a Tuesday morning. Danny was making breakfast when Kira suddenly dropped her coffee cup. It shattered on the kitchen floor, but she did not notice. Her golden eyes went wide as she grabbed her brother's arm. The scanner, she whispered. Torin, check the scanner. Torin rushed to the small bag they had brought with them through the portal. He pulled out a device that looked like a flat metal triangle. Lights flickered across its surface. His face turned pale, which for a Vareth meant it shifted from lavender to almost white. Void Wardens, he said. 3 ships. They entered the solar system 6 hours ago. They are heading toward Earth. Danny put down the pan he was holding. Void Wardens. Who are they? The Concord's enforcement unit, Kira answered. Her voice was steady, but Danny could see fear in her eyes. They hunt down those who break Concord law. They are the ones who enforce the quarantine. If they are here, it means they tracked our portal signature. They know we are on this planet, Torin added. They will search until they find us. And when they do, they will kill us. They will also kill anyone who has had contact with us. Danny felt his stomach drop. How long do we have? Kira did the math in her head. At their current speed, they will reach Earth orbit in 46 hours. Then they will begin scanning for our biological signatures. Once they locate us, they will send a ground team. We have perhaps 48 hours. Maybe less. Danny's first instinct was to panic. His second instinct was to think. He had always been a problem solver. When something broke at the shop, he figured out how to fix it. This was just another problem. A much bigger problem, but still a problem. Okay, he said. We need help. I know some people. He picked up his phone and made 2 calls. The first call was to his sister, Lavra Carter. She was 5 years older than Danny, and she had always been the tough one in the family. Lavra had served as a pilot in the Air Force for 8 years. She had flown combat missions overseas and earned medals for bravery. After leaving the military, she worked as a civilian flight instructor. But Danny knew she missed the action. She was not the type to sit still for long. "Danny, it's 7 in the morning. What's wrong?" "Lavra, I need you to come to my apartment. Right now. Don't ask questions. Just come." There was a pause. Lavra knew her brother. She knew he would not ask unless it was serious. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. The second call was to Greg Hoffman. Greg had been Danny's best friend since high school. He was a genius with computers and technology. After graduation, Greg had joined the military as a cyber warfare specialist. He was brilliant at his job, maybe too brilliant. He hacked into systems he was not supposed to hack, looking for truths he was not supposed to find. The military discharged him rather than deal with the scandal. Now Greg worked as a freelance security consultant, which was a polite way of saying he helped companies protect themselves from people like himself. "Danny? Why are you calling so early?" "Greg, I need your brain. Get to my place as fast as you can. Bring your laptop. This sounds like trouble. The biggest trouble you've ever seen. You're going to love it." Greg laughed. On my way. Lavra arrived first. She walked into Danny's apartment and immediately saw Kira and Torin sitting on the couch. She stopped dead in her tracks. Her hand moved toward her hip, where she used to carry a sidearm. "Danny," she said slowly, "what am I looking at?" "Aliens," Danny replied. "From another planet. They showed up in my bedroom 3 weeks ago. Their names are Kira and Torin. They're twins. They're also refugees. And right now there's an alien death squad heading toward Earth to kill them and anyone who knows about them. Including me. And now including you." Lavra stared at him for a long moment. Then she walked over to the twins and examined them closely. She looked at their purple skin, their golden eyes, the silver markings on their temples. Is he telling the truth? She asked them. "Yes," Kira answered. "Every word. We are sorry to put you in danger. We did not mean for any of this to happen." Lavra turned back to Danny. "You should have called me sooner." "I know. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Just tell me everything." Greg arrived 20 minutes later. His reaction was different from Laura's. He walked in, saw the aliens, and his face lit up like a child on Christmas morning. Oh man, this is real. This is actually real." He rushed over to Torin and started examining the scanner device. "What is this? Is this alien technology? How does it work? What kind of power source does it use?" "Greg," Danny said, "focus. We have 47 hours before alien soldiers arrive to kill us all." Greg looked up. "Right. Sorry. What do you need?" Danny gathered everyone in the living room. He explained everything. The quarantine, the Concorde, why humans were feared, and what the Void Wardens would do when they arrived. When he finished, the room was silent. Lavra spoke first. "So we're facing an enemy with superior technology, superior numbers, and probably superior training. They're coming to our planet, and they think we're primitive savages who won't be able to fight back." "That's about right," Kira said. Lavra smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Then they don't know humans very well, do they?" "What are you thinking?" Danny asked. "I'm thinking that people have underestimated humans before. It never ends well for them." Lavra began pacing the room. "These Void Wardens, they've probably never fought anyone who didn't follow their rules. They've never faced an enemy that adapts, improvises, and refuses to quit. They have no idea what they're walking into." Greg was already typing on his laptop. The scanner Torn has, it's damaged but still functional. I might be able to boost its range and reverse engineer some of the components. If I can figure out their communication frequencies, I could jam their signals. Torn looked impressed. You understood that technology in just a few minutes? I'm a fast learner. It's kind of a human thing. Danny looked at his sister, his best friend, and the two alien twins who had become part of his life. They were a small group facing an impossible enemy. But somehow, he felt hope. Okay, he said. We have less than 2 days to prepare. The Void Wardens are coming to Earth expecting to find helpless primitives. Let's show them why the Concord was right to be afraid of us. Lara cracked her knuckles. Now you're talking my language. Kira watched them with wonder in her golden eyes. She had never seen anything like these humans. They were facing certain death, and instead of running or hiding, they were getting ready to fight. They were planning, strategizing, preparing to defend strangers they had only known for weeks, for the first time since leaving Verath. Kira felt something she had not felt in a long time. Hope the hunters were coming. But the prey was not going to run. And when the Void Wardens finally arrived on Earth, they would learn a lesson that the rest of the galaxy had yet to discover. Humanity was not afraid. The Void Wardens landed exactly where Torn's scanner predicted they would. A remote valley 30 miles outside Denver, surrounded by mountains and far from any major roads. They chose the location because it was isolated. They did not want witnesses. 3 ships descended from the night sky, each one shaped like a sharp black wedge. They made no sound as they landed. The valley filled with a cold blue glow from their engines. Hatches opened, and the Wardens emerged. There were 15 of them. They stood 7 feet tall on average, covered in black armor that seemed to absorb light. Their helmets hid their faces, but their movements were precise and mechanical. They carried weapons that hummed with energy, rifles that could burn through steel, and pistols that could stop a heart at 50 meters. Commander Vex led the unit. She had served the Concord for 200 years and had never failed a mission. To her, this assignment was routine. Track down 2 escaped refugees on a primitive quarantine world. Eliminate witnesses. Return to Concord space before anyone noticed. Simple. Scan the area, she ordered. Find the Verith signatures. Her soldiers activated their tracking equipment. Within seconds, they had a direction. Northwest, one of the Wardens reported. Approximately 4 kilometers. 2 Verith life signs and 3 unknown biological signatures. Likely native inhabitants. 3 witnesses, Commander Vex said. No matter. We will be finished before sunrise. The Wardens moved out in formation. They walked through the valley with confidence, weapons ready but relaxed. They expected no resistance. Earth had no advanced technology, no energy weapons, no shields or defense systems. The humans here were barely past their industrial age. This would be easy. They did not see the tripwire. The first explosion came from their left. A homemade bomb built by Greg from fertilizer and other common materials. It was crude by galactic standards, but it was effective. The blast caught 2 Wardens off guard and sent them flying. Their armor protected them from death, but they were stunned and disoriented. Commander Vex reacted instantly. Ambush! Take cover! But there was no cover. The valley was a trap. Danny, Lavra, and Greg had spent the last 40 hours preparing the ground. They had dug trenches, placed explosives, and set up positions in the surrounding hills. A second explosion hit from the right. Then a third from behind. Return fire! Commander Vex shouted. The Wardens raised their weapons and began shooting. Blue beams of energy sliced through the darkness. But their targets were moving, darting from cover to cover, refusing to stay still. The humans fought differently from any enemy the Wardens had ever faced. They did not stand in formation. They did not follow predictable patterns. They were chaos. Lara was in the eastern hills with a hunting rifle. She was no stranger to combat, and she quickly figured out the weak points in the Warden armor. The joints, the neck seals, the backs of the knees. She aimed carefully and fired. One Warden went down with a bullet through its knee joint. Then another. Their armor has gaps, she reported through the cheap walkie-talkie Danny had bought from a sporting goods store. Aim for the joints. Slow them down. Danny was on the ground level, moving through the trenches with a shotgun and a bag full of homemade grenades. He had never killed anyone before. He had never even been in a real fight. But tonight was different. Tonight he was protecting his family. A Warden spotted him and raised its weapon. Danny threw himself sideways as an energy beam burned through the air where his head had been. He rolled, came up, and fired the shotgun at close range. The blast hit the Warden in the chest and knocked it backward. The armor held, but the force of the impact gave Danny time to run. Greg was doing his part from a safe distance. He had spent the last 2 days studying the alien technology that Kira and Torin brought with them. He did not fully understand it, but he understood enough. He had built a jamming device from spare parts and alien components. When he activated it, the Warden's communication systems went dead. What is happening? Commander Vex shouted into her helmet. Why can I not reach the ships? Silence. Her soldiers were scattered, confused, fighting enemies they could not see. This was not how it was supposed to go. Kira and Torin were not idle either. They knew the Wardens better than anyone. They knew their tactics, their weaknesses, their psychology. Kira directed the humans from a hidden position, telling them when to attack and when to fall back. Torin worked with Greg, using his knowledge of Concord technology to make the jamming signal stronger. The commander will call for retreat soon, Kira said into her walkie-talkie. When she does, the ships will try to take off and provide air support. We cannot let that happen. Already on it, Lavra replied. During the preparation phase, Lavra had taken Danny's old pickup truck and driven to a small airfield where she knew the owner. She borrowed a crop duster, a small propeller plane used for spraying pesticides on farms. Greg had modified it with a few of the alien components they could spare. It was not pretty, but it flew. Now Lara climbed into the cockpit and started the engine. The crop duster roared to life and lifted off the ground. She flew low, skimming the treetops, heading straight for the 3 Warden ships. The ships detected her approach. Their defense systems activated automatically. Energy turrets swiveled to target the incoming aircraft. Lara grinned. Let's see how good your aim really is. She flew like she was born to fly. She twisted and turned, dove and climbed, forcing the turrets to chase her. Energy beams lit up the night sky, but none of them hit her. She was too fast, too unpredictable. While the ships were focused on her, she dropped her payload. Not bombs. Something simpler. Glass bottles filled with gasoline and stuffed with burning rags. Molotov cocktails. The most primitive weapons in human history. The bottles shattered against the ship's hulls. Fire spread across their surfaces. The Concord engineers had built the ships to withstand energy weapons and plasma fire. They had not thought to protect against burning liquid. One ship's fuel line ignited. The explosion was massive. The second ship tried to take off, but the fire had damaged its engines. It rose 10 meters and then crashed back down, breaking apart on impact. The third ship managed to lift off, but it was wounded. Smoke poured from its hull. It turned and accelerated upward, fleeing into the night sky. On the ground, Commander Vex watched the destruction with disbelief. Half her soldiers were wounded or dead. 2 of her ships were destroyed. The mission had become a disaster. How? She demanded. She grabbed Danny, who had been captured during the chaos. She held him by the throat, her armored hands squeezing tight. "How did you do this? You are primitives. You have no technology. You have no training. How did you defeat us?" Danny looked at her through the narrow slit in her helmet. His face was bloody. His body was bruised. But his eyes were calm. "You came to our planet," he said, his voice rough but steady. "You threatened our friends. You expected us to be afraid. That was your first mistake. And what was our second mistake?" Danny smiled. "You forgot what humans are capable of when we have something worth fighting for." Commander Vex stared at him. For the first time in 200 years, she felt something she had not felt before. Behind her, the remaining wardens were in full retreat. The humans had won. Against all odds, against all logic, they had won. Danny fell to the ground as Commander Vex released him and ran for the surviving ship. She would escape. She would return to Concord space. And she would have to explain how a handful of primitive humans had destroyed an entire Void Warden unit. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. Humanity had arrived. The sun rose over Denver 3 days after the battle. Danny stood on the roof of his apartment building, watching the city wake up. Cars filled the streets. People walked to work. Children waited for school buses. The world continued as if nothing had happened, but everything had changed. Commander Vex had escaped with a handful of surviving wardens. Her damaged ship limped back to Concord space, carrying news that would shake the galaxy to its foundation. A quarantined species had done the impossible. Humans had not only resisted Void Wardens, but had defeated them. The story spread faster than the Concord could contain it. Within days, every civilized world in the galaxy knew what had happened on Earth. The details grew with each telling. Some said the humans had used ancient magic. Others claimed they had secret technology hidden from the Concord. A few even suggested that humans were the children of forgotten gods. The truth was simpler and somehow more terrifying. A mechanic, a pilot, a computer expert, and 2 teenage aliens had beaten 15 of the most elite soldiers in the known universe using homemade explosives, a crop duster, and bottles filled with burning gasoline. The Concord Council held an emergency session. For the first time in 50,000 years, the great powers of the galaxy were afraid. "We must destroy them now," argued the Drakari representative. "Send the fleet. Learn their world before they grow stronger, and confirm everything the universe now believes about them." The Luminari delegate replied, "We would only prove that humans are as dangerous as rumored. Other worlds would see us as tyrants and humans as martyrs. The rebellion this could inspire would tear the Concord apart." "Then what do you suggest?" the Varth representative asked. "Do nothing? We have no good options," the Luminari admitted. "We can only wait and watch. The quarantine failed because we treated humans as animals to be contained. Perhaps we were wrong. Perhaps they are something else entirely." The council could not agree on any action. For the first time in its long history, the Concord was paralyzed by indecision. And while the great powers argued, the galaxy changed. On a prison world called Nexera, where political dissidents were sent to die, guards found messages carved into the walls. Earth fights back. Humanity rises. The prisoners whispered about a small blue planet where the impossible had happened. They began to hope. On the trading stations at the edge of Concord space, merchants heard rumors and spread them further. "The humans are real," they said. "They beat the Wardens. The quarantine is breaking." Traders who had never thought twice about the Forbidden's world now found themselves curious. On Vareth, where the war had finally ended with half the planet destroyed, survivors looked up at the stars and wondered if escape was really possible. 2 of their children had found shelter among the humans. Perhaps others could too. The universe was waking up to something new. And at the center of it all was a small group of humans and aliens who had no idea how much they had changed history. Danny came back down from the roof and entered his apartment. Laura was cooking breakfast. Greg was still studying the alien technology they had captured from the battle. Kira and Torin were sitting together, speaking quietly in their native language. "Any word from the scanner?" Danny asked. Torin shook his head. "No new Concorde ships in the system? I think they are deciding what to do next. We surprised them badly. They will come back," Kira added. "Eventually. The Concorde does not forget. But for now, we have time." "Time for what?" Laura asked. Danny sat down at the kitchen table. He had been thinking about this for 3 days, ever since the battle ended. He had barely slept. His mind would not stop working on the problem. "Time to get ready," he said. What happened out there was just the beginning. Sooner or later, humanity is going to meet the rest of the galaxy. It might be in 10 years. It might be in 100. But it's going to happen. And when it does, we need to be prepared. Prepared how? Greg asked. "We can't exactly tell the government about aliens. They'd either lock us up or study Kira and Torin in a lab somewhere." "No," Danny agreed. "We can't go public. Not yet. But we can start building something. A network. A group of people who know the truth and are ready to act when the time comes." Laura nodded slowly. "A secret organization. Like in the movies. Except this is real," Danny said. "We have alien technology. We have knowledge about the galaxy that no one else on Earth has. And we have proof that humans can stand up to whatever's out there. We use that. We find people we can trust. We train, we prepare, so that when the Concorde finally decides what to do about us, we're not caught off guard." Kira looked at him with her golden eyes. "You want to protect your entire species. Someone has to. And right now, we're the only ones who know the danger." Torin smiled. It was an expression that still looked strange on his lavender face, but it was genuine. "You are a remarkable people, Danny Carter. You face impossible odds and respond by making plans to do even more impossible things." "That's kind of our specialty," Danny said. They talked for hours about what came next. They decided to call their group the Midnight Pact, named after the night when everything began. Their first goal was simple: learn everything they could about alien technology and find ways to combine it with human science. Their second goal was harder: identify and recruit others who could be trusted with the truth. Weeks turned into months. The Midnight Pact grew slowly. Laura brought in a few pilots she trusted from her Air Force days. Greg recruited hackers and engineers from his network of contacts. Danny found ordinary people, workers and teachers and students who had the right qualities: courage, open minds, and a willingness to believe in something bigger than themselves. Kira and Torin became teachers. They shared everything they knew about the galaxy, the different species, the technology, the politics, the history. The humans absorbed it all like sponges. They asked questions no Vareth would think to ask. They made connections no Luminari could see. They improved alien designs in ways that would have been impossible for any single-minded species. 1 year after the battle, the Midnight Pact had 47 members spread across 6 countries. They had a hidden base built in an abandoned mine in Colorado. They had prototypes of hybrid technology, devices that combined human creativity with alien engineering. They had a plan. Danny stood in the main room of their base, looking at a map of the solar system projected on the wall. Stars glittered beyond, representing the vast galaxy that waited for humanity. Laura stood beside him. "Do you think we'll live to see it? Humanity going out there?" "Maybe not us," Danny said. "But our children might. Or our grandchildren. The point is that we're giving them a chance." We're making sure that when humans finally step onto the galactic stage, we do it on our own terms." Kira and Torin joined them. In the past year, the twins had changed. They smiled more easily now. They laughed at human jokes. They had learned to feel emotions they never knew existed on Verith. They had become family. "Our parents would be proud," Kira said softly. "They sent us away hoping we would survive. They never imagined we would find something like this." "What did you find?" Danny asked. Torin answered. "Home. We found home." Danny put his hand on Torin's shoulder. It had been exactly 1 year since 2 frightened aliens fell into his bedroom in the middle of the night. He had been nobody then. Just a tired mechanic with a baseball bat dot. Now he was the leader of humanity's first defense against a galaxy that feared them. He was the founder of an organization that would shape the future of his entire species. He was the friend and protector of 2 alien refugees who had nowhere else to go. Everything had changed because of one choice. One simple decision to help instead of harm. To show kindness instead of fear. Maybe that was the lesson the galaxy needed to learn. Humans were dangerous, yes. They could fight and kill and conquer if they had to. But they could also love and protect and sacrifice for people they barely knew. The future was uncertain. The Concord would not stay quiet forever. New challenges would come. New battles would be fought. But for now, in this moment, Danny Carter looked at his friends and his family and felt something he had not felt in a long time. Hope. The midnight visitors had arrived. And everything had changed. For them, for Earth, and someday for the entire galaxy. The universe would never be the same. The deep space vessel Horizon moved slowly through the darkness between stars. It was a small ship, built for exploration rather than war. The crew of 42 men and women had been traveling for 3 months, searching for signs of intelligent life in a region of space that no human had ever visited before. Lieutenant Daniel Carter sat at his station on the bridge, watching lines of data scroll across his screen. He was the ship's communications specialist, a job that mostly involved listening to static and hoping to hear something interesting. Daniel was 31 years old, with brown hair that was always a little too long and eyes the color of a cloudy sky. He was not a remarkable man. He was not the strongest or the smartest member of the crew. He was just a quiet guy from a small town in Nebraska who had always wondered what was out there among the stars. "Lieutenant Carter," said Captain Amy Patterson from her chair in the center of the bridge. "Are you picking up anything?" Daniel checked his readings again. "There's something, Captain. A structure about 200 kilometers off our port side. It's big. Really big." The captain stood up and walked to the main viewing screen. "Show me." Daniel adjusted the display, and suddenly everyone on the bridge could see it. A space station floated in the void, spinning slowly like a dying top. It was massive, easily 10 times the size of the Horizon. Strange lights flickered along its surface, and its design was unlike anything humans had ever built. This was alien technology. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Kevin Brooks, the ship's doctor. "Who built that thing?" Nobody had an answer. Captain Patterson made her decision quickly. "Prepare an away team. We're going to take a look inside." Daniel did not expect to be chosen for the away team, but the captain wanted someone who could analyze any communications equipment they found. 20 minutes later, he was putting on his spacesuit and trying to ignore the nervous feeling in his stomach. The shuttle carried 6 crew members across the empty space between the Horizon and the alien station. Daniel watched through the window as the massive structure grew larger and larger. Up close, he could see damage on its surface. Burn marks, holes. Something bad had happened here. They found an airlock that still worked and entered the station. The interior was dark, lit only by the emergency lights that still flickered weakly along the walls. The air was breathable but cold, and everything was silent except for the sound of their own footsteps. "Stay together," said Sergeant Rick Palmer, the security officer leading the team. "We don't know what we're dealing with here." They walked through long corridors filled with strange machines and alien writing on the walls. Daniel tried to read the symbols, but they were in no language he had ever seen. Then they turned a corner, and everything changed. Bodies. Hundreds of bodies. They lay scattered across the floor of a massive chamber, frozen in place like statues. But these were not human bodies. Daniel counted at least a dozen different species. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had too many eyes or too many limbs. They were aliens from across the galaxy, and they were all dead. What happened to them? Asked Private Lisa Grant, her voice shaking. Kevin Brooks knelt beside one of the bodies and examined it. No wounds. No signs of violence. It's like they just stopped living. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine that had nothing to do with the cold air. He looked at the faces of the dead aliens. Every single one of them wore the same expression. Terror. Pure, absolute terror. They had died afraid of something. "I'm picking up a life sign," said Daniel suddenly, looking at his scanner. "Down below." "In the lower levels? One survivor?" asked Sergeant Palmer. "Just one." The team discussed what to do. Protocol said they should stay together and report back to the ship. But someone was alive down there. Someone might need help. "I'll go," said Daniel before he could stop himself. Palmer shook his head. "That's against regulations, Lieutenant." "I know. But whoever is down there might be hurt. They might be the only one who can tell us what happened here." The sergeant looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Take this," he said, handing Daniel a small pistol. "Be careful. Report back in 30 minutes or we're coming after you." Daniel took the weapon and headed for the stairs leading down into the darkness. The lower levels were even darker than the upper floors. Daniel's flashlight cut a narrow beam through the shadows as he walked. More bodies lay here, frozen in the same poses of terror. He tried not to look at their faces. The life sign on his scanner grew stronger as he went deeper. Finally, he reached a large chamber at the very bottom of the station. Strange symbols covered every wall, glowing with a faint blue light. And in the center of the room, someone was standing. She was tall. Very tall, nearly 7 feet, Daniel guessed. Her skin was like polished black stone, smooth and shining in the dim light. Her hair was long and white, floating around her head as if she were underwater. And her eyes burned like 2 small suns, bright and golden and ancient. The moment Daniel entered the room, he felt something press against his mind. It was like standing in front of a speeding train, like staring into the heart of a star. His ears began to ring. His vision blurred. Blood started to drip from his nose. The woman turned to face him, and for a moment, Daniel was certain he was going to die just like all the others. He could feel the fear trying to take hold of him, trying to stop his heart. His body wanted to collapse. His mind wanted to break. But Daniel had grown up on a farm in Nebraska. He had spent his childhood dealing with animals bigger and stronger than himself. He had learned early that being scared of something did not help you deal with it. He took a deep breath. He wiped the blood from his face, and he looked at the terrifying alien woman standing before him. "Are you hurt?" he asked. The woman's burning eyes widened. In 10,000 years of existence, across hundreds of worlds and thousands of civilizations, no creature had ever asked her such a question. They had begged for mercy. They had offered worship. They had screamed in terror. But no one had ever looked at her and asked if she was okay. She studied this small, fragile human with new interest. He was bleeding. He was shaking. He was clearly in pain just from standing in her presence. And yet he remained on his feet, and his first words had been words of concern for her. "What is your name?" she asked. Her voice was like music and thunder combined, beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Daniel, he said. Daniel Carter. I'm from Earth. Earth, repeated slowly, as if tasting the word. I have never heard of such a place. It's pretty far from here. We're explorers. We found this station and came to investigate. He paused, looking at her carefully. What happened here? Who are you? The woman was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, she began to speak. I am Valeth, she said. I am the last of the Carveth. And what happened here is what always happens when others look upon me. She gestured at the ceiling, and Daniel understood. All those bodies. All those dead aliens. She had killed them, not with weapons or violence, but simply by existing, by being what she was. They came to see me, Valeth continued. They wanted my power, my alliance. But when they looked upon my true form, their minds could not survive. Fear stopped their hearts. Daniel felt his own heart pounding in his chest. He understood now how close he was to death. This being in front of him was not just an alien. She was something far older and far more powerful than anything humanity had ever encountered. And yet, somehow, he was still standing. Why am I not dead? He asked. Valeth tilted her head, looking at him with those burning eyes. That, she said slowly, is a very good question.